Good morning, good people. Today is December the 30th, 2025. I just want to come on here this morning. It's been a while since I've made any videos or done any lives, and I hope all is well with everyone out there. But I wanted to come on here and speak to you guys for a little while in reference to the state of the United States, so to speak, the state of the government in this country. And I want to start with the simple fact that Donald J. Trump, the things that he's doing when it comes down to military strikes and things like that, he's doing these things in order to expand the footprint of the United States. Any reason that he's given the people for why he's doing what he's doing is not the truth. He's hiding his true intentions, which is to expand, once again, the footprint of the United States. And I say that because we have to go back to the beginning of his second term and listen to the statements or the comments that he made in reference to Canada and the comments that he is still making in reference to Greenland, stating that Canada should be a part of the United States, that Greenland should be taken over by the United States. And so he is coming up once again with these excuses in order to once again expand the footprint of the United States. So let's look at Venezuela. It started off with the drug trafficking, that it's a lot of drugs apparently coming from Venezuela, and that they are a terrorist group, and just excuse after excuse in order for him to use the military to start off by blowing these ships up in the middle of the ocean. And then it expanded to, well, he's going to put troops on the ground in Venezuela in order to combat the drug trafficking issue between the United States and the Venezuelans. But we have to understand that it's bigger than that. Venezuela has oil in that country as well. And that oil does benefit the United States because Chevron gets oil from Venezuela. But also that oil benefits Iran, in which, if you don't recall, that Iran is the country where Donald Trump gave the go ahead in order to bomb that nuclear facility over there a few months back. And also Iran is helping, or was helping, Hamas with the war between Hamas and Israel. And the United States had to also step in there in order to shoot down missiles and stop the Iranians from attacking Israel. And so that's another thing. And that's one of the bigger issues, if you ask me, in which I'm not saying it's okay for Iran to have done or to do the things that they're doing. But once again, the Americans aren't being given the full story on why Donald J. Trump is doing the things that he's doing. And so if you've kept up with the news recently, there was another American attack on Venezuela to where it was a lot closer to the land as far as this attack. So he's getting closer and closer to putting troops on the ground once again in Venezuela. But I say he used the drug trafficking as an excuse because we all know it's a couple of reasons. We all know one thing is that it's not just Venezuela that's moving drugs into the United States. Drugs are coming from everywhere. They're coming from the eastern countries. They're coming from the Latino or Hispanic countries. So drugs aren't just coming from that one particular country. But also, what I want to say is that this drug trafficking issue just didn't happen overnight. This drug trafficking issue just didn't happen when Biden was in office. Drugs have been coming from Venezuela for decades, meaning that in Donald J. Trump's first term, drugs were coming from Venezuela and he did nothing about it. If he did mention it, I don't remember, but once again, he did nothing about the drugs that were coming into the United States during his first term, but now in his second term, all of a sudden it's a big issue. And it's only a bigger issue because, once again, Iran is getting oil from Venezuela. And so Donald J. Trump wants to cut off any type of supplies that Iran is getting in order to basically suffocate them, to starve them out, so to speak. And also, it was just mentioned again, just yesterday, that by Donald J. Trump, that he heard that Iran is rebuilding their nuclear facilities, in which we all know that that was going to happen. Iran isn't just going to ball up and crawl up underneath a rock just because you attacked them one time, in which he mentioned that it was going to be a steep price that Iran would have to pay if they continue to build that nuclear facility, in which we know they are going to continue to build it. Iran is not going to back down from the United States, in which Donald Trump has to realize that anyone can send threats out and even do something physically, but that's not going to stop people who have their mind set on doing certain things. Look at the criminals in the United States. I mean, they rob banks and there's a security guard with a gun at the door. So my point being is that those threats that Donald J. Trump is sending out is not putting any type of fear in the Iranians' heart. And also the Iranian prime minister, president, whatever you call him over there, the leader of Iran, sent out a statement saying that Iran is now declaring that they are in a full war with the United States, with Europe, and with Israel. So I say this because Donald Trump is leading this country down a path that we really don't want to go down. And he uses a bunch of lies for starters, that he acts like he truly cares about the military and about the police personnel in this country. But he's only saying these things in order to put these thoughts in their mind to make it appear like he truly cares about them, so that they will stand up and fight for him, even though they're fighting for ignorant, foolish reasons. If you see what I'm saying, because all of this could have been avoided. A lot of this could be avoided. But Donald Trump, claiming that he's the president of peace, has been nothing but a problem starter, is what he's been. And also what I want to touch on is the fact that he sent the military, or the military had strikes over in Nigeria against a terrorist cell that's over in Nigeria. And his reason for doing that was because of, I don't remember how many Nigerians, Christians, were beheaded over there recently, but he used that as an excuse to send military help over to Nigeria. And I say these actions are excuses because, once again, the terrorist attacks against the Christians in Nigeria have been going on since the early 2000s, my people. This just didn't start in 2025. This just didn't start in 2024. This has been going on since roughly about 2007. if not a little earlier. But basically, we're talking about 18 years that these Christians have been attacked and killed, to where we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people have lost their lives in Nigeria because of their religious beliefs. And I'm not saying that they don't need help. I'm not saying that he's doing something that's right or wrong, but he's using that as an excuse. Because once again, if this was going on since 2007, then obviously it means that this was going on during his first term as president of the United States. And not one time did he say that he was going to send the military over to Nigeria in order to help these Christian people that are being terrorized over there. But yet now in 2025, all of a sudden it's a big deal and it's an issue. But you have to dig deeper into his reasons of doing things, y'all, in which we have to understand that Africa, especially that Nigeria, that part of Africa, that there's surrounding countries around Nigeria. And one of those countries has a high concentration of uranium, in which we all know what uranium is used for. And if you don't know, uranium is the main component in order to create nuclear weapons. And so he's doing these things in order to get closer to those resources. There's also a country that borders or that's near Nigeria that's full of gold and other natural minerals that he would love to take advantage of. But I truly believe that his real intentions is to get close to that country that is rich in that uranium, in order for the United States to continue to be the superior when it comes down to nuclear weapons. And he doesn't want anyone else to get their hands on that uranium. We have to look at the whole picture when it comes down to Donald J. Trump, because he does nothing in order to help humanity. Everything that he does is in order to bolster his approval rating and to make himself into this dictator / king that he wants to become. That's why he's doing these things, y'all. It's not for the benefit of the American people. And I could go into him building that darn ballroom that's not going to help the United States whatsoever. I could go into him releasing these Epstein files that have truly been slashed and cut to the point where any of the real meat of that story is not being given to the people. We're only getting bits and pieces. But I'm not going to go into that, because these wars and these threats of wars is a lot more serious than this Epstein nonsense. Because Iran recently had signed an agreement with China, in which China and Iran, part of that agreement was military help for one another. And so if Iran is declaring war against the United States, we have to understand and realize that China is in the loop. China is fully aware of everything that's going on. And Donald J. Trump has, for the most part, had nothing good to say about the Chinese and the Chinese government. It was always negative. And so there's a possibility, and I've said it time and time again, that Donald J. Trump is going to be the start of the next world war. And we've heard time and time again, every time he meets with the leader of Ukraine, he always claims that it was good talks and that they're closer to peace. I mean, how many people are tired of hearing that same nonsense? Because every time they meet, it was a good meeting. Every time he talks to the leader of Russia, they had a great conversation. But each and every time, it has led to nothing. The war is still going on. Putin does not want to end this war. We have to understand this. Putin wants this war to drag out until he's able to take over whatever land masses and parts of Ukraine that he is after. And until he gets what he wants, this war is not going to end. So this peace talk nonsense is just that, a bunch of nonsense and a bunch of misleading information. Once again, this is the same war that was supposed to end in the first or second week of Donald J. Trump's term. And now here we are pretty much a year in, and this war is still going on, and it's worse than what it was prior. And all Putin does is tell lies. He's lying on the Ukrainian army or military, stating that they're bombing certain parts of Russia in order to get Donald J. Trump, shallow-minded thinking self, to believe that it's Ukraine's fault. To where it's not Ukraine's fault. It's not ever been Ukraine's fault. Russia was the start of this war, and Russia would be the ending of this war. Because the leader of Ukraine wants this war to end. He's doing everything in his power. He's meeting with all these different leaders of these different countries trying to end this war. And Putin keeps coming up with excuses on why this war is not ending. So y'all, I say these things because we have to wake up and stop letting them blind us with lies and stupidity. But y'all, I hope y'all have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.